There's a kind of disappearance nobody talks about. Not the kind where a woman leaves, the quieter kind. The kind where she stays until there is nothing left of her in the room. And the day I stopped answering, everything changed. I did not leave my husband. I did not abandon my daughter. I didn't run away from my life. What I did was smaller than that, quieter, harder to explain. I turned off my phone and ignored everyone who needed me. That was the moment everything started to break. And strangely enough, it was also the moment I started to live again. I catch my reflection in the dark screen of my phone. Medium brown skin, tired eyes, someone I barely recognize. My name is Naida. I'm 41 years old. This is the story of how I learned that what every mother truly craves isn't more time, more help, or more appreciation. It's something far more dangerous than that. And it shows up in the smallest moments. The coffee tastes like burnt rubber, but I drink it anyway because it's hot, it's mine, and no one has asked me for anything in the 7 minutes it's taken me to make it. 7 minutes. That's my record this week. Mom, where's my blue folder? Okay, 6 minutes then. Veda stands in the doorway, 14 years old, already skilled at making a question sound like an accusation, her medium brown skin catching the morning light. Her hair, my hair, a rich dark brown that catches soft hints of copper in the light, falls across her face in that deliberately careless way teenagers manage. Kitchen table, under the mail, I say, not looking up from my phone, or I'm scrolling through my bank account for the 3rd time this morning. The numbers haven't changed. They never do, no matter how many times I refresh. It's not there, Veda says, her voice clipped. Then it's in your backpack. I already checked. Check again. She huffs. This particular huff is a symphony of teenage disdain, the kind that says you're useless without using words, and disappears. My husband calls from upstairs, his voice carrying that edge it gets when he's running late. Naida, have you seen my gray tie? He calls, a hint of impatience in his voice. The gray tie is in the laundry basket. The laundry basket is in the laundry room. The laundry room is 6 steps from where he's standing. But I'm already moving, coffee abandoned on the counter, because it's easier to find the tie than explain where the tie is. This is motherhood. This is marriage. This is the life I chose, the life I wanted, the life that's slowly hollowing me out like water through limestone. I find the tie, I find the folder. It was in Veda's backpack, exactly where I said, my oversized t-shirt slightly slipping as I move. I pack lunches, sign permission slips, remind Cass about his dentist appointment, text my mother-in-law about Sunday dinner, and somewhere in the chaos, my coffee goes cold. By the time everyone leaves the house, the exhales into silence. The quiet settles slowly, like something heavy finally being set down. There is a kind of strength in motherhood that no one applauds, the kind that looks like disappearing quietly, so everyone else can feel whole. I stand in the kitchen surrounded by the debris of morning, crumbs sticking to the counter, dishes crusted in the sink, someone's damp sock clinging to the floor, the air faintly sour like something left too long, and I feel it, that thing, that hollow, gnawing thing that has no name but lives in my chest like a second heartbeat. My phone buzzes, then again, and again. I stand there, the sound filling the room. An email. The subject line makes my stomach drop. Final notice, Rune Holloway, gallery exhibition. I read it standing up, even though my legs feel suddenly unreliable. Dear Miss Naida Voss, this is your final opportunity to confirm your participation in the Emerging Artists exhibition scheduled for October 28th through 30th. We have held your slot for 3 months, but without confirmation and submission of your portfolio by September 30th, we'll be forced to offer your space to another artist. Portfolio submission deadline, September 30th. Selected artists will complete and deliver final works by October 15th for the exhibition on October 28th through 30th. We discovered your work at the Riverside Art Fair 2 years ago and have been trying to reach you since. Your piece, Fracture, showed remarkable talent and emotional depth. We believe you have significant potential. Please respond within 48 hours. Regards, Rune Holloway, Director of Holloway Gallery. September 28th. I have 48 hours. They didn't need finished work yet, just a portfolio, just enough to prove I still existed as an artist. I haven't painted in 18 months. The last time I tried, Veda needed help with her science project, and by the time I cleaned up the papier-mâché disaster, it was midnight and I was too tired to think, let alone create. The last time before that, Kess's mother had a health scare, and I spent 3 weeks coordinating doctors and medications and meals. Before that, there was always something. There is always something. The studio? I can't even call it that anymore. It's just the spare room with my supplies shoved in the closet. Sits at the end of the hallway like a reproach. I walk toward it like you walk toward a grave. The door sticks. It always sticks, the wood dragging with a dull scrape that echoes in the quiet hallway. Inside, dust motes dance in the afternoon light, and the smell hits me. Linseed oil and turpentine and possibility. My easel stands in the corner, still holding the canvas I abandoned. A woman's face, half finished, her expression caught between joy and despair. I don't remember what I was trying to say with it. I don't remember who I was when I started it. My phone buzzes again. Kess, can you pick up my prescription? Forgot this morning. Then Veda, need poster board for presentation tomorrow. Then my mother, are you coming to lunch on Thursday? You missed the last 2. I stand in the middle of the room, phone vibrating in my hand like a living thing, and I make a decision that will change everything. I turn off my phone. The silence is immediate, and heavier than I expect. There's a kind of disappearance nobody talks about. Not the kind where a woman packs a suitcase and leaves. The quieter kind. The respectable kind. The kind where she stays. She stays so completely that one day there is nothing left of her in the room except the work she does for everyone else. People call that devotion. But devotion can become a grave if nobody notices the person being buried. And the cruelest part is this. Sometimes the woman digging the grave is smiling while she does it. The first brushstroke feels like coming home and committing a crime at the same time. That is the thing about abandoned parts of yourself. They do not die politely. They wait. Under the noise of dishes and school pickups and marriage and duty, they wait under the 1,000 small violences of being needed every minute until even your own reflection starts to feel like a stranger. And when that lost part of you finally breathes again, it does not ask permission. It claws its way to life. And my hands move before I can stop them. I mix colors on my palette, cadmium red, burnt umber, titanium white, and my hands remember what my mind forgot. The muscle memory is still there, buried under years of grocery lists and parent-teacher conferences and the slow erosion of self. I paint for 3 hours. The world keeps moving without me. I miss picking up Kess's prescription. I miss the poster board. I miss lunch prep. When I finally emerge, it's because my bladder is screaming and my back aches, and the light has shifted from afternoon gold to evening gray. 17 missed calls. 23 texts. Kess is home. I can hear him in the kitchen, the particular clatter of someone making dinner badly. Veda's music thumps from upstairs, bass-heavy and aggressive. I should go down, I should apologize, I should explain. Instead, I look at the canvas. The woman's face is different now, clearer. She's not caught between joy and despair anymore. She's chastened. She's walking away from something, towards something, and the expression on her face is the one I see in the mirror when no one's watching. Naida? Kess's voice carries up the stairs, concern lifting his tone. Where were you? I do not answer right away, because I do not know how to explain where I've been. Not physically, but the other place, the one I forgot existed. I go down because I have to, because I'm a wife, a mother, a woman who has responsibilities, because the world doesn't stop just because you remember who you used to be. Kess stands at the stove, stirring pasta with the wooden spoon I use for baking. steam rising around him in soft clouds, the smell of overcooked noodles filling the kitchen. His tie is loosened, his shirt wrinkled and slightly damp at the collar, and there's a tightness around his eyes that means he's been worried and now he's angry. My phone died, I lie. The words taste like ash. For 6 hours, he says, skepticism sharpening his tone. I was cleaning the spare room, lost track of time. He looks at me, really looks at me, and for a moment I think he sees it. The paint under my fingernails, the flush in my cheeks, the guilt and exhilaration warring in my expression. But then Vada crashes into the kitchen, all teenage fury and a wounded entitlement. I had to use notebook paper for my presentation because someone didn't get poster board. She says someone the way other people say criminal. I'm sorry, I'll take you to get it now. It's due tomorrow morning, first period. Then we'll go tonight, after dinner. Stores close at 9, Vada says, her tone firm and clipped. I look at the clock. It's 8:17. The nearest craft store is 20 minutes away. Kes dumps the pasta into a colander with more force than necessary. I had to leave work early to get my prescription myself. Do you know how that looked? I told them my wife would bring it. The words pile up in my throat. Excuses, apologies, explanations. But what comes out instead is, I'm sorry, I'm not perfect, I say. The silence that follows is the kind that has weight. Kes's jaw tightens, his fingers gripping the edge of the counter. Vada stares at her phone, her thumb frozen mid-scroll. I grab my keys. I do not wait for anyone to stop me. I'll get the poster board. I drive too fast, windows down, radio off. The night air smells like cut grass and gasoline and freedom. At a red light, I pull out my phone and reread Rune Holloway's email. 48 hours. Now, 42. The craft store is a fluorescent nightmare of scrapbooking supplies and seasonal decorations, the air smelling faintly of glue, plastic, and artificial pine. I find the poster board, white, because Vada didn't specify and I'm too tired to text and ask. At the checkout, I see them. Professional-grade canvases, the kind I haven't bought in years because they're expensive and what's the point when you never paint? I buy 3. More than I need. More than I can justify. I use the credit card Kes doesn't monitor, the one I kept from before we merged our finances, the one that still has my maiden name on it. In the parking lot, I sit in my car and do the math. The Holloway Gallery exhibition could change everything. Rune Holloway is known for launching careers. Artists who show there get noticed, get representation, get opportunities. But I need a portfolio. I need at least 6 finished pieces. I need time. I need what I don't have. When I get home, Vada takes the poster board without thanks and disappears upstairs. Kes is watching TV, his dinner plate on the coffee table, the kitchen still a disaster. I clean it because that's what I do. I'm the one who cleans up. I go to bed later than I should, but I do not sleep the same way. The next 2 days pass in fragments. I do what I have to, answer what cannot be ignored, apologize where I need to, but every spare second, I come back here, to the canvas, to the quiet, to something that feels like mine again. September 30th comes faster than it should. I do not have 6 paintings. I do not have a perfect portfolio. I have fragments, old work, half-finished pieces, things I stopped believing in before they were done. I pull them out anyway, dust them off, turn them toward the light like I am trying to remember who made them. By the time I sit down, it is already late. The house is quiet, the kind of quiet that feels borrowed. I photograph everything, adjust angles, step back, try again. Then the statement. I stare at the blinking cursor longer than I should. What do I say? That I used to paint? That I stopped? That I am not sure when I disappeared? I do not write any of that. I write something cleaner, something safer, something that sounds like someone who still believes she belongs in rooms like this. When I finally upload everything, it is past 3 a.m. My finger hovers over the button. I almost close the laptop. Almost tell myself it's not enough. Almost decide for them. Then I click submit. The email comes 2 days later. I almost ignore it. Unknown sender, subject line, re-submission. My hands are still wet when I open it. I do not read the whole thing. I do not need to. One word. Selected. The room does not change. The sink is still running. The brush is still in my hand. But something in me shifts. Not joy, not relief. Something quieter than that. Something dangerous. And I do not hesitate. I start. I lie awake until 2 a.m., calculating. Q weeks. That's all I have. If I paint every day, if I sacrifice sleep, if I let things slide, the house, the meals, the endless maintenance of other people's lives, I could do it. I could have 6 pieces. I could have a chance. But what would I lose? Everything, probably. Later, in bed, Cass reaches for me in the dark. His hand finds my hip, slides up my ribs, and I feel the familiar weight of expectation. This is marriage, too. This is the unspoken contract. I take care of everything, and in return, I give this. But tonight, I can't. Tonight, I'm thinking about paint and canvas and the woman in my painting who's walking away. I'm tired, I whisper. The words disappear into the dark, already knowing it will not be enough. His hand stops, withdraws. The space between us grows cold. You're always tired, he says, his tone flat and resigned, and rolls over. I wait until his breathing evens out. Then I slip out of bed. I go to the spare room. In the darkness, I can barely see the canvas, but I know what's there. I know what I'm capable of when I let myself be. I turn on the light and start painting. 8 days later, I have 4 finished paintings, and a family that feels like it's slipping through my fingers. 2 left, and not nearly enough time. The last 2 come together in the margins. Late nights, early mornings, hours I should have been sleeping. The house looks like a crime scene. Dishes tower in the sink, sour and crusted. Laundry breathes in baskets, spilling onto the floor. The refrigerator contains condiments, beer, and something that might have been lettuce in a previous life. Vada has started eating lunch at school because I forget to pack it. Cass orders takeout most nights and leaves the containers on the counter like evidence. It happens faster than I realize. And I paint. I paint through breakfast, through phone calls, through the guilt that sits on my chest like a stone. I paint women, mothers, caught in the moment between who they were and who they are becoming. One canvas shows a woman shedding her skin like a snake, the old self pooling at her feet while the new self emerges, raw and uncertain. Another depicts hands reaching up through water, breaking the surface, choosing air over drowning. The studio smells like paint and something sharper, like change. My hands stay stained, my phone stays silent, the house keeps moving without me. Weekends don't mean anything, nights stretch. Mornings come too fast. And still, I paint. My mother calls. I don't answer, the screen lighting up and fading out in my hand like a pulse I choose to ignore. She calls again and again. Finally, I pick up. Naida, where have you been? I've been worried sick. I'm fine, Mom, just busy. Too busy for your own mother? Kes says you're acting strange. He says you're neglecting things. The word neglecting lands like a slap. He said that? He's concerned. We all are. Is everything okay with you? I look around the spare room, my studio, I'm calling it that now, at the canvases leaning against walls, at the paint-stained drop cloth, at the evidence of my selfishness. Everything's fine, I say. You don't sound fine. You sound different. Different. Yes, I am different. I'm remembering what it feels like to want something for myself, to create something that matters, to exist as more than just a supporting character in everyone else's story. But I didn't say any of those words. Instead, I said, I have to go, Mom. Naida. I hang up. My hands are shaking. That night, Kes corners me in the kitchen. He's been building to this. I can tell. The tension has been accumulating like pressure in a sealed container. "We need to talk," he says, his voice controlled but tight. I'm washing dishes, finally, and my hands are submerged in gray water. "Okay? What's going on with you?" "Nothing's going on." "Don't lie to me," his voice sharper. "You're different. You're distant. You're letting everything fall apart." I pull my hands from the water. Soap suds slide down my wrists. "I'm painting," I say. "Painting," he repeats, the word landing heavy between us. He says it like I said gambling or having an affair. "You're painting while our daughter eats vending machine food. And I'm working 10-hour days and coming home to chaos. I'm painting because I have an opportunity. A real one. The Holloway Gallery wants to show my work." His expression doesn't change. "When were you going to tell me?" "I'm telling you now." "The Holloway Gallery. That's great, Naida, really, but you can't just abandon everything for this." "I'm not abandoning anything." "Look around," he says, gesturing sharply. He gestures at the kitchen, at the house, at the life we've built. "This is abandonment," he says. "This is you checking out," he adds. The words I've been swallowing for weeks rise up like bile. "You mean I'm not doing your laundry, I'm not cooking your meals, I'm not managing your life? You're not being a mother. You're not being a wife." The air leaves the room. We stare at each other across the kitchen island, and I see it in his face. He genuinely believes this. He genuinely believes that my worth is measured in clean dishes and packed lunches and the smooth operation of a household that would collapse without me. "What about what I need?" My voice cracks. "What about what I want?" "We all want things, Naida. That's not how life works. You have responsibilities." "And you don't have? You get to go to work, pursue your career, have lunch with colleagues, exist as a person. But I'm supposed to just what? Disappear? Become nothing but a service provider? That's not fair. None of this is fair." I'm shouting now, and I don't care. I gave up everything for this family, my art, my dreams, my identity. I became what you needed me to be, and now that I'm trying to take something back, I'm the villain? Veda appears in the doorway. Her face is pale, her eyes wide. "Stop fighting." "But we can't stop. The dam has broken." "You chose this," Kes says. "You chose to be a mother. You chose this life." "I chose to be a mother. I didn't choose to stop being a person." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm suffocating. It means I wake up every day and I don't recognize myself. It means I'm 41 years old and I've spent the last 15 years being everything to everyone except for myself." Veda's crying now, silent tears that track down her cheeks. I should go to her. I should comfort her, but I'm frozen. All my rage and grief and desperation spilling out like blood from a wound. "You're being selfish," Kes says, his voice low and controlled. The words land harder than I expected. Yes, I am. For the first time in 15 years, I'm being selfish, and it feels like the only honest thing I've done in a decade. But maybe that is the lie we have been taught, that a woman choosing herself is something that needs to be justified. That a mother only matters in the way she gives, and nowhere else. Maybe that is why women are punished so quickly for choosing themselves, because the moment a woman stops breaking herself quietly, everyone around her hears the sound. The system only works when her hunger is silent, when her gifts are useful, when her exhaustion is invisible, when her dreams stay folded up in a drawer like old receipts nobody plans to read again. But the truth is, a buried self does not stay buried forever, and when it rises, it does not ask to be liked. I walk out. I go to my studio and lock the door and I paint until my vision blurs and my back screams and the sun comes up. If you have ever felt like you were disappearing inside your own life, I need you to tell me where you are listening from tonight, and tell me one thing you have quietly given up, because you are not the only one. And before this story ends, you are going to see exactly what it costs to take it back. The fifth painting is the hardest. It's a self-portrait, but not the kind you'd hang in a living room. I paint myself fractured, face split into sections, each piece showing a different version of me: mother, wife, daughter, artist, woman. The pieces don't quite fit together. There are gaps where the light shows through. I call it what's left. Rune Holloway's deadline is in 4 days. I have 5 paintings. I need 6. I need one more piece that ties everything together, that says something true about what mothers crave. But I don't know what that is anymore. Kes has stopped talking to me. He communicates through Veda, who communicates through text messages, even though we live in the same house. The silence is thick enough to choke on. My mother shows up unannounced on a Tuesday afternoon. She lets herself in with the key I gave her for emergencies, and she finds me in the studio, covered in paint, surrounded by canvases. "Oh, Naida." Her voice is soft, sad. "What are you doing?" "I'm working," I say. She walks around the room, steadying each painting. She's quiet for a long time. When she finally speaks, her words surprise me. "These are extraordinary." "What?" I ask. "Your work, it's powerful, raw, honest." She stops in front of what's left, my fractured self-portrait. "This is how I felt for years." "You did?" I ask. She turns to me and I see something in her face I've never seen before. Recognition, understanding. "You think you're the first woman to feel this way? To want something beyond the walls of her home? To crave a life that's hers?" "But you never said anything," I say, not fully sure if she's serious or mocking me. "Because I didn't have the courage you have. I swallowed it. I pushed it down. I told myself that wanting more was selfish, that being a mother meant sacrificing everything else." She touches the canvas gently. "This was wrong." Kes thinks I'm abandoning them. Kes is scared. Men are often when their wives remember their people. What do I do? She looks at me with eyes that have seen decades of compromise and surrender. "You finish. You show your work. You take this chance. Because if you don't, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what if. And that wondering will poison everything. What if I lose them? What if you lose yourself? That is the kind of loss nobody gathers around. No casseroles, no sympathy cards, no one asking how you're holding up. Because from the outside, everything still looks intact. The house is clean, the children are fed, the marriage is still standing. But inside, there is a version of her that has quietly disappeared. And the world keeps calling that strength. That question sat in me like a blade. Because losing your family is a tragedy the world can see. But losing yourself? That happens in broad daylight with witnesses, while everybody calls you blessed. It happens over years, over meals cooked and needs met and talents postponed, over being thanked just enough to keep going, but never seen enough to be known. By the time a woman realizes she is vanishing, people are already used to the outline of her absence. After she leaves, I sit in the studio and I think about craving. What do mothers crave? Not just time or help or appreciation. Those are symptoms, not the disease. We crave recognition. We crave autonomy. We crave the right to exist as whole people, not just in service to others. We crave the freedom to want something and pursue it without guilt. We crave permission to be imperfect, to fail, to choose ourselves sometimes. We crave the space to be human. There comes a moment in a woman's life where everything she has been taught begins to crack, where silence starts to feel heavier than truth, where staying the same costs more than changing, where choosing herself feels like betrayal. Not because it is wrong, but because she has been taught that her worth lives in what she gives away. So when she finally keeps something for herself, it feels like she is stealing, even when what she is taking back was always hers. I start the sixth painting at midnight. It's a woman standing at a crossroads. Behind her, a house, warm, lit, familiar. Ahead of her, a path that disappears into darkness. She's not looking back, she's not looking forward. She's looking at the viewer, and her expression asks a question. What would you do? I call it the craving. I work for 36 hours straight. I sleep in 2-hour bursts on the studio floor. I eat crackers and drink coffee that tastes like regret. Kes checks on me once, opens the door, sees me painting, and leaves without a word. When I finish, it's 3 a.m. on October 14th. I have 6 hours to photograph my work, write my artist's statement, and submit my final work to Rune Holloway. I do it in 5. At 8:47 a.m., I hit send. And just like that, there is no going back. That is the thing about choosing yourself. The world does not end. The people you feared losing do not disappear overnight, but something else does. The version of you that believed you were only allowed to exist for others does not survive that choice. And once she is gone, you can never go back to being her again. The email whooshes away, carrying my work, my hope, my desperate bid for a life that includes me. Then I collapse. I wake up in my bed. The light is wrong. Too bright, too angled. I check my phone. It's 4 p.m. I've slept for 7 hours. Downstairs, I hear voices. Kes and someone else. A woman. I drag myself out of bed and down the stairs. In the living room, Kes sits on the couch across from a woman I don't recognize. She's maybe 50, with silver hair cut sharp and clothes that cost more than my car payment. She stands when she sees me. Naida Voss? Yes? I'm Rune Holloway. The world tilts. You're here? I received your images this morning. I wanted to see you before anyone else does. Cass looks between us, confused. You know each other? Miss Voss submitted her work to my gallery. Rune's eyes are sharp, assessing. I'd like to see the actual paintings if possible. Photographs don't do them justice. I lead her upstairs to the studio. Cass follows. The room is a disaster. Paint everywhere, coffee cups, the drop cloth stained with months of work. But the paintings stand against the walls, and in the afternoon light, they're alive. Rune walks slowly around the room. She doesn't speak. She just looks. When she reaches what's left, she stops for a long time. How much do you want for this one? It's not for sale. It's part of the exhibition. After the exhibition, then. Name your price. I can't speak. Cass makes a sound. Surprise or disbelief, I can't tell. Rune turns to me. Your work is exceptional. It's exactly what I look for. Technically skilled, but emotionally devastating. You paint truth. That's rare. She pulls out her phone. The exhibition opens in 2 weeks. I'll need all 6 pieces delivered by October 20th. We'll handle framing, insurance, everything. Standard commission is 40%. If you have representation, we can negotiate. I don't have representation. You will after this show, trust me. She heads for the door, then pauses. Miss Voss, I've been doing this for 23 years. I've seen thousands of artists. Most are technically proficient. Some are emotionally honest. Very few are both. You are both. Don't waste that. After she leaves, Kes and I stand in the studio, surrounded by my work. She wants to buy one of your paintings, he says finally. Yes. How much? I don't know. I didn't ask. He runs his hand through his hair, a gesture I know means he's processing something difficult. I didn't know you were this good. You never asked. Sometimes that is how a life gets erased. Quietly, without warning, without anyone realizing it is happening until it is already done. Not through cruelty loud enough to name, not through one monstrous betrayal, just through years of not asking, not looking, not wondering who the woman in front of you was before she became useful. And then one day the truth is standing in a room full of paintings, and everybody acts shocked that she was there all along, as if she appeared out of nowhere, as if she had not been disappearing right in front of them the entire time. The words hang between us, sharp and true. "I'm sorry," he says quietly. "I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to choose. I'm sorry I didn't see what this meant to you. I'm sorry I shut you out. I'm sorry I let everything fall apart," I reply. "The house doesn't matter. The laundry doesn't matter." He looks at the paintings. "This matters. You matter." I want to believe him. I want to believe that we can find a way forward where I get to be an artist and a mother and a wife, but I'm not sure that's possible. I'm not sure the world allows women to be all those things at once. I need help, I say. If I'm going to do this, really do this, I need help. I can't be everything to everyone anymore. Okay, I need you to do your own laundry, make your own lunches, remember your own appointments. Okay, I need Vada to understand that I love her, but I also need to love myself. We'll figure it out. I need to not feel guilty every time I choose my work over housework. He takes my hand. His palm is warm, familiar. I'll try. We'll all try. But Naida, you have to try too. You have to let us in. You can't just disappear into this room and expect us to understand. He's right. I know he's right. But the fear is still there. The fear that if I give an inch, I'll lose everything I fought for. The next 2 weeks are chaos, but a different kind. Kes takes time off work to help prepare for the exhibition. Vada, after an initial period of sulking, becomes curious about my work. She asks questions, she watches me paint, she tells me about an art class she wants to take. My mother helps me select frames. She tells me stories I've never heard about the poetry she used to write, the dreams she had before she became a wife and mother, the parts of herself she buried. She says, "Don't make my mistakes. Don't wait until you're 70 to remember who you are." The opening night of the exhibition arrives like a storm. I stand in the Holloway Gallery, surrounded by my work, and I feel naked, exposed. Every painting is a piece of my soul on display, and strangers are looking at them, judging them, deciding if they're worthy. Kes stands beside me in a suit I've never seen. Vado wears a dress and makeup and looks suddenly older. My mother holds my hand. People come. More people than I expected. They stand in front of my paintings and they see themselves. Women cry, men look uncomfortable. A journalist asks for an interview. A woman approaches me, mid-30s, expensive clothes, tired eyes. "I'm a lawyer," she says. "I have 3 kids. I haven't slept in 6 years. I look at your work and I feel seen. Thank you." Another woman, "I gave up dancing to raise my family. I thought I was okay with it. Your paintings made me realize I'm not." Another, "I'm not a mother, but I understand this, the craving, the need to be more than what people expect." By the end of the night, 4 paintings have sold. 4! Rune pulls me aside and tells me she has 3 galleries interested in representing me. 3! "You're going to have a career," she says. "A real one. Are you ready for that?" Am I? I don't know, but I nod anyway. On the drive home, Avada falls asleep in the back seat. Kes drives, and I watch the city lights blur past the window. "I'm proud of you," he says quietly. "Thank you." I mean it. I'm proud and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't see you, really see you. "I didn't let you," I said. "I was so busy being what everyone needed, I forgot to be myself." What happens now? It's the question I've been avoiding. What happens now? Do I become a full-time artist? Do I keep trying to balance everything? Do I choose? I don't know, I admit. But I know I can't go back to how things were. I can't unsee what I've seen. I can't unfeel what I've felt. I'm not asking you to. We drive in silence for a while. Then Kes says, "What do mothers crave, really?" I think about the question. I think about all the women who stood in front of my paintings tonight who saw themselves reflected back. Permission, I say finally. We crave permission to be imperfect, to want things, to fail, to choose ourselves sometimes without being villains. We crave the right to be human. Because that is the old lie, is it not? But a good mother disappears so completely into love that nothing of her own remains. But love was never supposed to be a vanishing act. Love was never meant to turn a woman into a shadow who keeps everybody warm while she freezes. A mother does not become holy by becoming hollow, and the day she learns that may be the day her real life begins. That's not too much to ask, he said. It shouldn't be, but it is. At home, Kes carries Vada inside. I stand in the driveway for a moment looking at our house. It's the same house it was 2 months ago, but everything is different. I'm different. Inside, I find a note on the kitchen counter, Vada's handwriting. Mom, I'm proud of you too. Even when I'm mad, I'm proud. Love, V. I cry. Not sad tears, not happy tears, just tears. The kind that come when something inside you breaks open and lets the light in. 3 months later, I am in my studio, my real studio now, the one Kes helped me set up in the garage, when my phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize. Miss Foss? This is Silas Chen from the Modern Art Museum. We're curating an exhibition on contemporary motherhood, and we'd like to include your work. The Modern Art Museum. The words don't compute. Yes, of course. Thank you, I say, my voice catching slightly as if the words are too small for what just happened. After I hang up, I sit very still. This is real. This is happening. I'm not just a mother who paints. I'm an artist who happens to be a mother. The distinction matters. Vada comes home from school and finds me in the studio, my medium brown skin warm against the late afternoon light. She's gotten used to this, me painting, me working, me being someone beyond mom. Can I watch? Sure. She sits on the floor, backpack still on, and watches me mix colors. After a while, she says, "Do you ever regret having me?" The question is a knife. No, never, I say, the answer coming too fast, too sharp. Never. But you gave up so much. I turn to face her. I gave up things, yes, I say, setting the brush down slowly, my fingers still stained with paint. But I didn't give up everything, and I'm taking some of it back now. That doesn't mean I regret you. It means I'm learning to be both, a mother and a person. Is that possible? I'm trying to find out. She's quiet for a moment, then, I want to be like you when I grow up. Like me? Yeah. Someone who doesn't give up on herself. Someone who fights for what she wants. I pull her into a hug and she lets me, even though she's 14 and hugs are usually beneath her dignity. That night, Kes and I have dinner together, just us. Vada is at a friend's house. We cook together, the soft hiss of oil in the pan and the smell of garlic filling the kitchen like something we almost lost, something we haven't done in years. He chops vegetables while I make pasta, and we move around the kitchen like dancers who've learned each other's rhythms. I've been thinking. About what? About what you said, about needing help. Okay. I want to cut back my hours, go part-time, he says, rubbing the back of his neck like the decision still feels unfamiliar. I've been talking to my boss, and it's possible. It would mean less money, but... You'd do that? I ask, turning fully toward him. I want to. I've been thinking about what I'm missing. Vada's growing up, you're building this incredible career, and I'm just working, coming home tired, missing everything. I stop stirring the pasta. Are you sure? I'm sure. I want to be present, really present. Not just the guy who shows up for dinner and expects everything to be handled. We eat on the couch, plates balanced on our knees, and we talk. Really talk. About dreams and fears in the future. About how to build a life where both of us get to be whole people. What do you crave? I ask him. If mothers crave permission to be human, what do fathers crave? He thinks about it. Connection, maybe. We're taught to provide, to be strong, to handle things, but we're not taught to connect, to be vulnerable, to admit when we're drowning. Are you drowning? I asked. I was. I am. But I'm learning to swim, he replied. 6 months after the Holloway Gallery exhibition, I'm preparing for my first solo show. 20 paintings, all exploring different aspects of motherhood, identity, and transformation. The museum is handling everything: publicity, framing, insurance. I just have to show up and be an artist. It still feels surreal, even now. The night before the opening, I can't sleep, the air too still, pressing softly against my skin. The air feels too still, too quiet, like the whole house is holding its breath. I go to my studio at 2 a.m. and I stand in front of my latest painting. It's different from the others, softer. It shows a woman holding a child, but she's not looking at the child. She's looking out, towards something beyond the frame. Her expression is peaceful, resolved. I call it both, because that's what I've learned. You can be both, mother and artist, wife and individual, selfless and selfish. You can love your family and still need space from them. You can sacrifice and still demand something for yourself. It's not easy. It's never easy, but it's possible. Vada finds me there in the studio at 3 a.m. Can you sleep either? She asks, nervous. She sits beside me on the floor. Mom, can I tell you something? Always. I used to be mad at you, Vada says, her voice softer than I expect. When you started painting again, I felt like you were choosing art over me. My heart clenches. Vada, let me finish. I was mad, but I was also inspired. I watched you fight for something you wanted. I watched you refuse to disappear, and I realized that's what I want to be. Someone who doesn't disappear. You could never disappear. You're too bright. I could. I was starting to. I was becoming what everyone expected. Good student, good daughter, good girl. But watching you made me realize I can be good and still be myself. We sit in silence, mother and daughter both learning how to be whole. The opening is a triumph. The air hums with low voices, perfume, and the faint sharpness of fresh paint, lights reflecting softly off polished floors. The museum is packed. Critics come, collectors come, other artists come, and mothers come. So many mothers, standing in front of my paintings with tears in their eyes. A woman approaches me. She's older, maybe 60, with gray hair and paint-stained hands. I stopped painting when my children were born, she says. That was 35 years ago. I told myself I'd start again when they were grown. But then there were grandchildren and aging parents and a husband who needed care. There was always a reason to wait. It's not too late, I tell her, squeezing her hand gently. Isn't it? No, it's never too late to remember who you are. She cries. I held her hand. Around us, other women gather, and we stand together in front of my paintings, and we share our stories. Stories of dreams deferred, of identities lost, of the slow erosion of self that happens when you give everything to everyone else. But also stories of reclamation, of women who found their way back, of mothers who learned to be people too. Rune finds me at the end of the night. You've started something, she says, her eyes steady on mine. This isn't just an art show. It's a movement. I just painted what I felt. That's what makes it powerful. You painted the truth. And maybe this is the answer. Because for so long, women have been taught that survival looks like silence, that love looks like disappearance, that worth is measured by how much of yourself you can give away without asking for anything back. But the truth is far more dangerous than that. A woman who remembers herself does not fit quietly back into a life that required her to forget. A year later, I'm teaching a workshop for mothers who want to reconnect with their creative selves. 20 women sit in a circle, and I ask them the question that started everything. What do you crave? The answers come slowly at first, then faster. Time for myself. Recognition. Permission to be imperfect. Space to breathe. the right to want things, to be seen as more than just a mom, to matter, to exist. I listen to each answer and I recognize myself in every one. Here's what I've learned, I tell them. What we crave isn't selfish. It's not too much to ask. It's the bare minimum of being human. We crave the right to be whole people. Mothers, yes, but also individuals with dreams and desires and needs. But how, one woman asks, how do you balance it all? You don't, I say honestly. Balance is a myth. Some days you're a better mother. Some days you're a better artist. Some days you fail at both. But you keep trying. You keep fighting for space to be yourself. And you refuse to feel guilty about it. What if your family doesn't understand? Then you teach them. You show them that you're not abandoning them by taking care of yourself. You're modeling what it means to be a whole person. And that's the greatest gift you can give your children, showing them that they don't have to disappear to be loved. After the workshop, I drive home. The road quiet beneath the tires, the hum of the engine steady and grounding. Kes has dinner ready. He's gotten good at cooking. Veda's at the table working on a painting of her own. She's applied to art school. She's going to be an artist, she says, like her mom. My mother calls. She started writing poetry again. She's joined a group. She's submitting to journals. It's never too late, she tells me. You taught me that. That night, after everyone's asleep, I go to my studio. I stand in front of a blank canvas, the room quiet except for my breathing, and I think about everything I've learned. What every mom craves isn't more time or more help or more appreciation, though those things matter. What we crave is permission. Permission to be imperfect, to want things, to choose ourselves sometimes, to exist as more than just caregivers. We crave the right to be human. I pick up my brush and I start to paint, the bristles dragging softly across the canvas, the sound steady and grounding. Not because I have to. Not because there's a deadline or an exhibition or someone waiting for my work. I paint because I want to, because it makes me feel alive, because I've learned that taking care of myself isn't selfish, it's survival. And survival was never supposed to look like disappearing. The painting that emerges is different from anything I've done before. It's a woman standing in a doorway, 1 foot in a house, 1 foot outside. She's not torn, she's not conflicted, she's simply existing in both spaces at once. I call it permission, because that's what I've given myself. Permission to be both, permission to want more, permission to be imperfect and human and whole. And that, I've learned, is what every mother craves. Not to be perfect, not to be selfless, not to disappear, just permission to be. Because the quiet truth is this: the moment a woman gives herself permission to exist fully, she becomes someone the world can no longer ignore. And that is not weakness. That is power. Being a mother does not mean you stop being a woman. It means you carry both, the giving and the longing to still belong to yourself. This story is for every mother who has felt invisible, for every woman who has sacrificed her dreams and wondered if anyone noticed, for everyone who has craved something more and felt guilty for wanting it. You are not selfish, you are not too much, you are not asking for too much. You are human, and you deserve to be seen. What you crave, permission to be whole, to want things, to exist beyond your role as caregiver, is not just valid, it's essential. Take up space. Make your art. Pursue your dreams. Teach your children that they don't have to disappear to be loved. You matter, not just as a mother, as a person. Remember that. If this story stayed with you, then the next one waiting for you will go even deeper, because what she discovers next changes everything. It is another story about what happens when love demands too much and silence costs even more. Tap the next video and come with me.